Welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to Fallout 3, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Chinese pistol, a Mauser C96 pistol, which is a very cool gun. It's appeared in multiple Fallout games. It was in the very first one. I don't remember if it was in Fallout 2. It's in Fallout 3, and it's technically in Fallout New Vegas. It's just a display in Fallout New Vegas, where it's behind the counter of Mick and Ralph's place. You can see that and a Chinese assault rifle there, as well as the railway rifle from Fallout 3 all in the back. You can't actually get those, but they are at least technically sort of in the game, and it's a pretty cool gun. This was the official pistol of the Chinese military before the war. So the Chinese had this, where the Americans had the 10mm handgun. Kind of big differences there into which one picked which, but okay. The Chinese pistol is a very early game weapon that you can find throughout Fallout 3. Raiders tend to carry this around a lot. You can buy it from vendors. I don't know of anybody that it's like their signature weapon, because even the Chinese troopers, the Chinese ghouls that you can fight, tend to use the Chinese assault rifle, not the Chinese handgun. So this is more of like a raider gun than anything. This shoots the 10mm round, which is the same as the 10mm pistol, which is kind of an issue because let's go over the stats of the Chinese pistol. So the stats of the Chinese pistol, this one does 4 damage per shot, which is pretty low. It's one of the lowest damages in the game out of any weapon. This does 24 damage per second, which is also fairly low. Even though this can shoot fairly fast, it doesn't really matter when your damage is so low, and this isn't a fully automatic weapon with a huge magazine. This one has a 1x crit modifier with 4 damage, so same as its regular damage and normal crits. This one only costs 17 action points, same as the 10mm pistol. This one has 1.0 spread, so more spread than most of the handguns. This holds 10 rounds in its magazine. It is a stripper clip magazine, although you just see the character drop the whole stripper clip into the gun and then slide it forward. That's not really how the stripper clip should work. The stripper clip should work by, you pushing down all of it and then knocking the actual clip out of the way when it closes. I get it for restrictions of the time. It's still a decent model of the C96, although it's missing a firing pin too, which is a little bit weird. This weighs 2 weight, so it's very lightweight, and this has actually really high item durability, where it can go through 1,250 shots of 10mm before it breaks. So it is a pretty durable handgun. It's actually about twice as durable as the 10mm handgun. And sadly, that's kind of the only thing it has going for it against the 10mm handgun. So compared to the 10mm does more damage, has higher DPS, has higher crit damage, has the same action points, has better accuracy, has a larger magazine, only weighs slightly more, and it's just not as durable as this one. The problem is 10mm pistols are about as common as Chinese pistols are, so fixing it is not really that big of a deal. And when they both use the same ammo, it's pretty fair to compare the two of them, and the Chinese pistol is pretty much always going to lose against the 10mm pistol when it just goes head to head with it. For the pros of the Chinese pistol, this does use common ammo. 10mm is really common, so if you're not interested in using the 10mm pistol for whatever reason, and you really like the look of the Chinese pistol and you're just going to be using it for small enemies, it could be a pretty decent option for that. It's similar to like the 32 pistol for the same role, although that one uses different ammo. It's also a very early game weapon, so finding Chinese pistols and getting an upgraded one isn't that hard overall. The major con to the Chinese pistol, though, is its stats. It has very low stats across the board besides its item durability, where it won't break very quickly, which I guess under certain mod conditions could be really good, but if you're just playing the game normally, that's not really going to come up all that often. And this doesn't really have any perks associated with it, which is strange given that the unique one uses fire ammunition. And you would think Pyromaniac would work for this one, but it doesn't. Pyromaniac actually doesn't affect the unique version of this at all, not even the burning effect, which is very, very bizarre. I wish that it did, because at least that would give it some sort of a niche. For an overall rating for the regular Chinese pistol, I'd put this one into D tier. I think it's one of the worst handguns in the game. It's not unusable, because at least it still does some damage, but it is definitely on the weaker end of guns in Fallout. Let's talk about the unique version now, which is called, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, the Zhurong V418. I probably butchered that name, but this is the unique pistol, and it does have something very different about it compared to other guns, and that is that it fires out fire bullets. So every bullet from this is incendiary ammunition, which is rather interesting. This gun actually isn't too difficult to get. You just have to go to the south part of the map and go to the LOB studios, and then you need a key in order to get into the safe or the desk that it's in. I don't remember. There's a safe and a desk right next to one another on the top floor. Either way, you need a key or 100 lockpicking to get it. And I would not rush 100 lockpicking in order to get this. It kind of makes sense if you do that in Fallout New Vegas, if you want to go for the Gobi Scout Rifle, or if you want to go with Lucky. both of those options are actually really good. This pistol is not really that great. So this one for stats does 4 damage on hit, as well as it does 2 fire damage, and this fire damage ticks for 5 seconds. So you can get a bit more damage and a bit more damage per second out of this. There's also a really weird bug with this pistol, and that is that sometimes the first bullet that hits an enemy does not actually count as damage, but it will still inflict the fire status to them. It's kind of hard to tell if that's the case or not, because with such low damage, and if you're fighting a tankier enemy, you might not actually do all that much damage. You might do like 1 damage, and then the fire's actually doing the majority of the damage there. So it might not actually matter all that much if that bug actually exists in the game, or if you got that bug on certain enemy types. I don't know what causes that bug. I've tried using this gun plenty of times, and it's kind of awkward regardless. This one does 20 damage per second, plus the 2 fire damage for 5 seconds. So its DPS is actually a little bit higher than this. It's not going to be as high as like a weapon that we talked about recently with the dart gun, where the poison over time actually does matter with this. The fire still matters to some extent for this pistol because you can spam it pretty quick, but it's not as impactful as something like the venom from the dart gun. That just does more. This has a 2 times crit modifier, so it's twice as likely to hit crits. Still does 4 crit damage though, so crit damage doesn't really matter because your crit damage isn't going to add up to that much. It's better than nothing though, so if you are going to the crit character, this one will at least be okay in that role if you really want to use it. This one costs 17 action points just like the regular one, has 1.0 spread, so not the greatest for a handgun, but okay enough. Holds 10 rounds in it, weighs 2 weight. This one does have higher item durability, where this one can go through 1,667 shots before it breaks. So it is quite a bit more durable than the Chinese pistol, and I think it's the most durable out of any of the 10mm weapons in the entire game. But most of the 10mm weapons aren't particularly hard to get more of them, because it's the 10mm, the Chinese pistol, the submachine gun, and the lever action rifle. Lever action rifle could be a little bit more difficult to get because it is DLC only, but you can always come and go from that DLC, and there's a shop right at the very front of that DLC, so getting more lever actions honestly isn't that difficult either. Breaking any of these weapons isn't really much of a concern to me, and this weapon, it is a little bit quirky. It has a little bit more going for it than the regular Chinese pistol, but it's really not that much better than the regular one. If this could use Pyromaniac, it would be slightly better. Honestly, even then it wouldn't be that great, because with 4 base damage and getting 50% more damage, you're only going up to 6 damage per shot, which the regular 10mm has a base of 9 damage per shot, so it's still getting outcompeted even by just a standard 10mm pistol. I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's just not really worth having unless you're just using it to kill small things because you don't really want to use your 10mm for anything else. Then I guess it's okay. I would put this one on the very, very low end of C tier, but it's just barely squeaking in there, and honestly, if you wanted to put it in D tier, I would totally understand. It's not really that great of a gun. It is a little bit unique, though, so that's why I'm putting it up there. I'm being a little bit generous with this. Tell me your thoughts on the Chinese pistol and its unique variant down in the comments below. There isn't a Anchorage version of this that you can get. Unlike a lot of the other weapons, you never actually get access to a Chinese pistol during that DLC. You think you would at some point, but there just isn't any loadout and nobody that you can loot that actually has a Chinese pistol. I don't even remember any of the soldiers actually using a Chinese pistol. Most of the time they just have the AKs. Either way, thank you guys so very much for watching this. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.